as far as economics is concerned, if the state does any actions in the economy, it brings instability. Because it, like I said, it doesn't have to take account of the facts on the ground. If you can keep it from intervening, though, it's not that the state brings stability. The market is naturally stable if you protect people's rights. It's just a fact of nature that if people have the right to do as they please, and they are protected by a system of law and courts, then you're going to have a much more stable situation. The key reason for that is goodwill. Goodwill among people. I was very surprised to learn that in Soviet Russia, where everybody's brothers, and you know, the state gives you an apartment and the state gives you a job, and if you can't get a job you get a pension automatically or whatever, you had to check your change. They would give you the wrong change. Unless you checked it, you're gonna get the wrong change if you go out and go shopping. Shops will give you the wrong change, and at the end of the night, that's more money for them. How could they do this in a nation of brotherhood? Strange, but you don't get a system of goodwill. You don't get brotherhood among men except in situations of freedom and the protection of individual rights. Victor Davis Hanson says that the reason ancient Greece was so successful was because of its freedom, its free economy, the invention of the small plantation or the small farm owner, that the state would actually give loans for peasants to buy farms. Land was distributed to peasants, and they were allowed to work it instead of all being owned by aristocrats who made the peasants work for them. If his interpretation is correct, then the wealth created by the Golden Age of ancient Greece was nothing more than a stable market economy, with individual rights being protected, producing, surprise, tons and tons of wealth. No, the state doesn't bring stability to the situation. The state can protect the market, which is automatically stable if it's given the right tools. Goodwill among men is the key thing. Goodwill among men is there's no other way around it. Now, this isn't his main point or anything. It's just to show that he misunderstands the system from top to bottom and doesn't know what he's talking about. And now we see really that he definitely is completely clueless. He says, for example, people who only live 100 years, kinetic stability on that time scale is of greater value than the bogus, in parentheses, bogus promise of a better run system in 1,000,000 years. You only live 100 years, so you say, to hell with free markets, I don't have time for them. I need the system to run well while I'm alive. He says this is usually stated as, quote, free market economy works in the long run, but we're all dead in the long run. Well, like I said earlier, we're going to see that he is completely ignorant of the facts on the ground, and that right there shows it. One example I can give you is after the end of World War II, we were occupying Germany, and I got this from Commanding Heights. I believe it's a PBS series, Commanding Heights. One of the episodes, they talk about how the German economy was being operated in the French quarter by the French, and the British quarter by the British, and the American quarter by the Americans, and the Soviet quarter by the Soviets. Well, in the American quarter of Berlin, there were complete price controls. Everything was rationed, and this is 1948. It's 3 years after the war ends. Price controls on everything. Complete, total controlled economy. Well, I believe it was General Curtis LeMay. No, that couldn't be it. I think he was in the Pacific Theater. The general who was in charge of that one day heard... Should we just let this airplane go over? The general heard that the elected mayor, or dignitary or whatever, over the German who had been elected over that area of Berlin, had gone to the unprecedented lengths of removing the price control system. Really? Are you circling me? What is this? He'll be around in a minute. Now the general comes into the guy's office. He says, Herr Schmidt, or whatever the guy's name is, my advisors have told me that So he comes into the guy's office. He says, Herr Schmidt, or whatever, my advisors, I hear that you have eliminated the price controls. My advisors tell me this is a huge mistake. And the German guy says, Well, Colonel or whatever, yes, I have removed the advice controls. And my advisors tell me that it's a huge mistake as well. And he said, give it time and we'll see what happens. Now, it was not the next day when prices fell. They fell within hours. Okay? The price of eggs came way down. Within a week, it was 1/10 what it was previously, or 1/5 or something. Massive, massive reduction in price. 3 years after the war, takes one afternoon to reduce the price of eggs. One week, you know, in the whole scheme of it. This profound, bizarre situation was repeated in the late 1980s or the early 90s, when a government in South America invited Milton Friedman to come and help them free up the economy. Was it Bolivia? I don't recall. But they had galloping inflation of like hyperinflation, 30,000% a month or something like that, or a week. It was just insane. And Milton Friedman got them to take off price controls and cut spending except for what they were taking in. And they said, no, we have to do this slowly, one piece at a time, or else it's going to destroy the economy. And Milton Friedman said, if you've got surgery you got to do on the dog, for example, you're going to fix the dog, you got to do surgery, you've got to finish the surgery so it can heal. If you're going to cut off the tail of a dog, if you do it just one piece at a time, 1 inch at a time every day, that'll kill the dog. Just chopping the tail off right at the top and getting a bandage on, that's much more likely to survive. Do the whole thing, get it done, get the process going towards the right direction. Now in that situation, I believe that there were no eggs available. There was no eggs and milk available, I believe. And they removed the controls, they removed the quotas and everything, and they allowed a free open market on the streets. Free open, not a black market because it's legal. And they said, if eggs appear, if the price of eggs begins